Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Narayana Montufar. I am an astrologer, artist, and author who finds inspiration in the symbolic language of astrology. I offer all kinds of readings, astrology, Akashic readings to find your soul path in life. I also just launched a 2025 transits reading to guide you in the year ahead. And I also paint birth charts for the Sagittarians in your life. This is the right time to order them. And I wrote a book about the moon to help you work with the lunar energies at play. My book is called Moon Signs, Unlock Your Inner Luminary Power, and can be purchased everywhere where you can buy books. So today I am here to talk about Mercury retrograde. Everyone's favorite subject, right? I have so much to say about Mercury retrograde because I was born with Mercury retrograde. It is the only retrograde planet in my chart. And I want to inspire you with this video to work with Mercury retrograde and not see it from a fear-based perspective. On the internet, on Instagram, on social media, and wherever you go, a lot of people instigate this fear because it's true. Mercury retrogrades are intense. I'm not gonna lie to you. They are incredibly transformative. And that is why everybody pays attention to them. Mercury retrograde is literally known even by people who don't know astrology or who don't even follow astrology, because it has become kind of like the scapegoat. If something goes wrong, if there's a miscommunication, if an email got lost, or whatever, a breakup, or the ex comes back to hunt you, blame Mercury retrograde, right? Well, we're not going to do that here. We are going to prepare you for this upcoming retrograde. And I am going to be looking at my notes here. So if you see me looking away, I am looking at my notes. I actually just finished writing my Mercury retrograde horoscopes for women's health. You will be able to find them up on the Women's Health website next week, but I will also be promoting them on my newsletter, so make sure to sign up for my newsletter. But let's begin now. So the retrograde of Mercury, why is it so impactful? The main reason why the retrogrades of Mercury are so impactful is because Mercury rules your perception. Our perception, how you perceive information, how you take in information, your ability to listen, your ability to make sense of what you listen, how you process that information, and how you respond to that information. So obviously, Mercury is an incredibly important planet. All planets are important, but Mercury in particular rules how you communicate with the world. So like every time you are writing an email, answering a text, watching a movie, or talking to yourself, you are in the realms of Mercury. So it is an incredibly important planet. Astronomically speaking, Mercury is very close to the sun, which in astrology represents the sense of self. And so this astronomical fact also can be understood as like how communication is so important to the being, to the existence of like, I am, I exist, I communicate. Mercury rules Gemini, which is the third sign of the zodiac, and it is all about information, learning, writing, speaking, processes of learning, and all of that. Mercury rules facts and figures. It's very specific. It wants the numbers, and we're going to talk about how that is really important for this retrograde. And so when Mercury goes retrograde, it appears, it is not actually happening, okay? It appears to be moving backward in the sky from our perspective here on Earth. It's a perception. Again, see, Mercury is a lot about perception, about how you perceive things, how they seem to be. And even though this is an optical illusion, the retrograde of Mercury is an optical illusion, it doesn't mean it doesn't matter. It is incredibly important. It is so important that when you read your yearly horoscopes, you probably already read or checked out your horoscopes for 2025. I will be creating content for that, so make sure you subscribe to my channel. You're gonna read about that. Like, astrologers look at the element where Mercury is going retrograde at any given year. In 2024, Mercury has been going retrograde in fire signs. In Aries, Leo, with a little bit of Virgo in there. And now Mercury is going to go retrograde in the sign of Sagittarius. That might be very obvious for some of us, because remember that Mercury is always following the sun. So Sagittarius season begins on November 21st. Well, Mercury is beginning its retrograde in Sagittarius on November 25th, all the way to December 15th. So, Mercury retrograde in fire signs, it's a little explosive. It can be explosive. It's impulsive. It's just reactive. So this is something really important that you need to think about as you head into this retrograde, regardless of your sign. I will be talking about the horoscopes for each sign, but I just want to talk about the collective meaning of Mercury retrograde in a fire sign. It's explosive, it's impulsive, and it just wants things the way it wants. The Mercury is swift. It's really fast in the sky. Remember, Mercury only spends 3 weeks in each sign unless it goes retrograde. Mercury goes retrograde 3 to 4 times a year, so it's very common. 40% of the population, like I was telling you, like me, I was born with Mercury retrograde. 40% of the population has it. So it's a very common celestial occurrence. But because Mercury is so close to us, it just feels, whatever comes up during Mercury retrogrades just feels very personal. It's like very personal. It's like, so we're going to require patience, my dears. We're going to require patience, and we're going to require to be very grounded in whatever it is that Mercury brings up for us. I always call it your Mercury retrograde story, right? A story will develop. It maybe already started because Mercury is in its pre-shadow phase. I don't use the pre-shadow phase that much, but maybe it already started. So you're going to have a story that develops over those 3 weeks and maybe even beyond. So Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius. That's actually my natal placement. So I know that placement. Mercury and Sagittarius are opposite forces. Let's begin with that. Mercury wants the facts, the figures. Give me the numbers quickly. I just want to know. I want to make sure I have a plan. I want to have it all figured out, and I'm going to focus on the details. I'm going to be very specific, and I'm going to be a little obsessive about these, analyzing this little thing. And Sagittarius is not like that at all. Remember that Mercury rules Gemini. And Sagittarius is the opposite sign of Gemini. So Mercury is uncomfortable in Sagittarius. Because Sagittarius, instead of giving the facts and the figures and being very specific, right? Sagittarius is like, let's see the big picture. Why do we even bother with the details? Why do we even care about the details? We need to see the whole thing from a big picture perspective. Just an example, right? This really reminds me to when I am making a painting, right? Like this Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius really reminds me of, like, for example, I'm working on a painting. Let's say it's a pretty big painting. And if I'm really focused on a space of the painting that is not really coming to my liking, that just feels a little off, and I obsess over it, and I paint over it, and I fix it, and this and that, and I'm just driving myself crazy with this little piece of the painting. But when I step back, right, when I step back, you don't even notice because I am seeing the full painting, and I'm probably the only one who's noticing that little part that went south, or that didn't work out, right? So it's about stepping back and admiring the entire piece. That is what this Mercury in Sagittarius feels like. You could be totally obsessing about a detail, something that you couldn't figure out, something that went wrong, a conversation, a relationship, a project, anything. And you're missing the big picture. You're not stepping out and objectively seeing the thing for what it is, if you gave it a little bit of time. So this Mercury retrograde is going to be very important that you have trust, that things will work out. Sagittarius is an optimistic sign. It's a fire, mutable sign. Mutable means that it is adaptable. It is able to shift and change. It is able to say, okay, I can see that. Once I step out of the situation, once I step out of my situation and seeing from a different perspective, okay, you're right. That little detail is not as important as the entire project. Another thing that this could pan out is that the truth is that Mercury in Sagittarius can be a little blunt. I don't necessarily like this combination of words, but I remember that my teacher taught me that Mercury in Sagittarius is like diarrhea of the mouth. Like, you can say a lot of things in the spur of the moment, right? As things change and shift and transform for you during these 3 weeks between November 25th and December 15th, you could just be impulsive in your speaking, in saying too much just to regret it later. So that is something to keep in mind. And why am I telling you this? Not to scare you, again, to prepare you, because the retrograde of Mercury is going to overlap with the beginning of the retrograde of Mars. I spoke about this in my Sagittarius season video that was released a couple of days ago. The retrograde of Mars begins on December 6th. So between that time, right? Between around November 6th, actually the exact dates are December 6th and December 15th. That is when you could be doing some damage if you are not really careful with how you respond, how you react to the delays, to the changes, to the revisions that Mercury is going to request from you. Most of us know that during Mercury retrograde, we have communication snafus. Things are getting misunderstood or taken out of proportion. If you write a text, somebody might understand it differently or give it a different tone. Things are taken out of context. It just happens that way, and people are on edge. And especially because of the retrograde of Mars being so close, and this overlap that we have between December 6th and December 15th, well, you have to be very careful with the words that you choose when it comes to talking about important things. So you have been warned. The retrograde of Mars is a completely different thing that I'm going to create a video for. It is a staple in the astrology as we transition between 24 and 2025. That retrograde is really long, and it's incredibly powerful, even more powerful than the normal retrogrades of Mars. I'm going to talk about that in another video, but I just want to prepare you with this. I want you to be moving, communicating, and acting with conscious awareness during that time. What else about Mercury retrograde? There are just a lot of big changes during Mercury retrograde, always. I already talked about the technological snafus, the misunderstandings, and just the necessity to sometimes just picking up the phone instead of texting, especially if you're talking about something important with your friends or anyone. Pick up the phone. Pick up the phone so nothing gets misunderstood, so the tone doesn't get taken out of context. You will notice, it's really interesting, every time Mercury goes retrograde, Instagram goes down. There's like a big data breach, or some hacking story in the news. So pay attention to that, not because it's a good thing, but it's because it validates the art of astrology. It validates what we're doing here, which is not a science. It's an art. Astrology is an art. But it's really fun to see how during Mercury retrograde, and maybe not so fun for some people, but during Mercury retrograde, there will be data breaches, big websites go down. This has happened with Microsoft. It has happened with Facebook, with Instagram, with pretty much really big corporations too, that they've had some hackings. And so that also reminds you to be really careful with your information, how you share it, the links that you click. So, because we're rushing, right? We're rushing in this, well, what is capitalist world ending. We're rushing to do the next thing and so. So be really careful during this Mercury retrograde with your information and how you share it. What I like about this Mercury retrograde is that it will bring a lot of healing. It will bring a lot of healing because situations from the past will definitely come back. Friendships, exes, all sorts of possibilities, opportunities that didn't gel in the past could come back. Maybe for a rebound, but also for closure. And this is especially true because Mercury is going to form a trine with Chiron in Aries. Chiron, the centaur of healing. This is happening actually on December 1st. But it is also going to form a grand fire trine with Chiron and Mars retrograde. I spoke about this in my Sagittarius season video as well. So things from the past will definitely come back to be revisited. And as you do that, what you should be focusing on, it is not as, oh, my ex called me, are we gonna get back? We should get back right away. No, none of that. You should be waiting. You should wait the longest, actually, because with Mars retrograde, it's a better idea to just wait and wait and wait and wait. It's going to take some time. Mars is going to be retrograde until the end of February. So you can chat, you can talk, you can seek healing. That's the whole point of this Mercury retrograde, to find healing, to heal your heart, to find that mending. And it's not necessarily about returning. It will be different for everybody, but I just want you to know that that is a beautiful manifestation. So a grand fire trine unites all of the fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And it is one of the most beautiful manifestations of the fire element. You are in a process of figuring out what lights you up. And so with this in mind, you can have a lot of major aha moments. This is especially around the Mercury Cassimi, when Mercury meets the Sun on December 5th and Mars goes retrograde. So surrender to that transformation. Surrender to that inner quest. That is what I talked about Sagittarius season being. Kind of like the beginning of a major inner quest. The good news is that I don't really see Mercury forming any difficult aspects with other planets. That's nice. That's useful. That's what I mean. Normally, in any given retrograde, we have Mercury getting really close to Neptune or Uranus or something like that. In this case, I don't think that's going to happen. So that's going to be very useful. So now I am going to go over the horoscopes for each sign. So let's begin with Sagittarius, because this retrograde is happening in Sagittarius. I always like to begin with the sign that is bringing that energy in. So Sagittarius, you're going to have Mercury going retrograde in your first house of self, the body, appearance, how people perceive you, and how you carry yourself through the world. So you might be feeling a disconnect between how you carry yourself and how you're perceived. And that is going to take you on this inner quest. That is going to make you realize that since you're getting really, really close to ending a really big cycle, once Neptune gets out of Pisces in 2025, this is a really long thing that I'm talking about, right? But you're starting to change in a massive way, and you might notice that some people don't perceive you the way you feel like you are. Give it some space. Certain comments that people make might feel like just very personal, very visceral. Go within. You know, I love Sagittarian energy. I have 3 planets in Sagittarius. I'm married to a Sagittarius rising. But Sagittarius energy, because it's very optimistic and it wants to see the best in things, what does it do? It's like, oh, you know, I'm having this kind of like mini crisis. I'm going to go on a trip. And then forget about this. This is not the time to look for that next adventure, Sagittarius. This is a time to give yourself space to ask yourself all the big questions. How would I like to be perceived? How would I want to show myself in the world? Do I even like my look? Do I want a change in color, in my hair? Do I want to change the way I dress? All of that is really important for you right now. And if you don't give yourself the time to go within during these 3 weeks, you might not get those answers you're looking for. So go within. Look for time alone, Sagittarius. Give yourself that space to transform. It's not super often that you get Mercury retrograde in your first house. This is Sagittarius rising, by the way. My horoscopes are for rising signs. You can listen to your sun sign too, but the rising sign will be more accurate. So that is not very often that Mercury goes retrograde in your first house. So there's a new you bubbling up. There's a new you trying to bubble up. It's still under the surface, but it's wanting to come out, and you have to give it space in order for that new you, that new version of yourself, because we're always changing. I don't believe that people don't change. We're always changing in one way or another. It's human nature. And if you give yourself space for that new you to start to come out, things are going to be clear at some point. Maybe not until next year, but give yourself that space. So I hope this really helps you, Sagittarius risings. And also remember, I said watch out with your words, right? Watch out with your words, because when Mercury is retrograde in your first house, you might end up saying the wrong thing, or you might end up saying too much. Oversharing, sharing too much too soon. Especially with partnerships, within romantic or business partnerships, when you're dealing with somebody one-on-one. Okay, so now we go to Capricorn. All right, my Capricorns, Capricorn risings, Mercury is going to go retrograde in your 12th house of subconscious mind. This means that you're in for a transformation, but it's not like you can have control over it. And we know that Capricorn likes to be in control. This time, it's going to be about total surrender. This is the house that rules dreams, sleep, the subconscious mind, your deepest fears, just the stuff that's kind of like hidden, that you don't have access to when you are awake. Think about it that way. So what it means, besides that you will need a lot of sleep and rest, more than usual. So schedule that already. Give yourself like an hour more of sleep in the mornings. Give yourself space to take naps. Don't overload your schedule. That's a great idea already. But see what comes up. Start a dreaming journal and see what are the messages, what are the symbols, because you're going to be receiving information through your dreams, through like those like magic moments when you're like half asleep and half awake. And the entire time you might feel like just some sort of like there's a secret, and there might be a secret that might get spilled, by the way, because this is the house of secrets. You might feel like there's something you don't know yet, like there's something that still needs to be uncovered, and you're only gonna find out when you find out. It's not like you don't have control over this. It's really important that you embrace the flow and surrender. You will most likely make sense of this whole thing when later on Mercury enters your sign. Mercury enters Capricorn at some point later on. Stay tuned for that. I will be talking about that later on. But for now, it's about understanding the messages through your subconscious mind. A good way to work with this would be some therapy sessions, maybe doing tarot readings for yourself, or getting a tarot reading, or maybe just make art and see what comes up. But it's working with your subconscious mind. I hope that really helps. And another thing that you might experience is that you might have to redo, because like the 12th house opposes the 6th house, you might have to redo some of the work, some projects. So be prepared for that, and take it in stride. Flow with the process instead of trying to control it right away. Okay, so Aquarius. For Aquarius, this is the 11th house of hopes and dreams. And as most of us know, Pluto just entered Aquarius, which is a massive long-term transit for you. Pluto is now in your sign. You've been preparing for this for a while. You've probably been making some big moves in your life, big shifts, things ending and new things beginning. So you kind of like, you're staring at those new paths. You're staring at the horizon and this new path, but you might not yet know how to walk that path or how to set yourself up for success along that path. So what this Mercury retrograde is going to ask you to do is to get back to that list of hopes and dreams. If you don't have one, make one during this time. Ask yourself, what did I want before in my life? What no longer seems important? What do I truly, me, what, not society or family or partners or anything. What do I truly want in my life? And most importantly, who's going to help me? Because we always need people, right? We always need friends, partners, collaborators that help us manifest things, even though it is our own responsibility to manifest our dreams. We always have people, collaborators in particular. I invite you to think about that. That could be the catalyst for your growth. That could be those who like make things clear for you. This could also be represented by your friendships. When Mercury is retrograde in your 11th house, that means that there might be a little bit of drama within a circle, within a group of collaborators, or like a community group that you belong to, like your yoga buddies or like your book club or something like that. Just to give you some examples so you understand what I'm talking about. You might see some movement, like people coming and going, and understanding that was meant to be. And who are your real friends, right? Who are the people who are helping you respond to those questions? What are you going to do for the next 20 years of your life with Pluto in Aquarius? What's important? And you don't have to have the answers right away. What's important is that you make space to have those thoughts, that you make space to ask yourself, well, what's next for me? Because at the end of the day, Aquarius, this is about stepping into your power, and nobody's rushing you, but you should be doing that work already, and that Mercury retrograde seeks to help you with that process. I hope that is helpful. So now I'm going to do with Pisces. So this is going to be a powerful Mercury retrograde for you. It's going to challenge you most likely. Why? Because it happens in your 10th house of career and public visibility. This means that your stand in the world, kind of like the role you play in society, is going to be highlighted. It's not like something bad is going to happen, but it's going to be highlighted. It's like people are going to be watching you, you know, like the people who have authority over you. It could be your parents, your bosses, your followers, people who get affected by who you are, right? Like who you are, like your role in society. And that means that you might also not, you might be switching that, you might be changing that. There's something around your name or maybe your career that is changing, that's transmuting into something new. And this Mercury retrograde can help you figure that out. It can help you ask the right questions. Am I in the right career, for example? Is my work being seen the way I want it to be? Am I being appreciated at my work? Those are some of the questions that could be brought up right now. And the 10th house is a career house, like I was saying, but it is also a legacy house. So when you are asking yourself all these important questions, like, what am I really in the right career? Am I doing the right thing in my life? Don't think short term, right? This is not like, am I okay for doing the right thing for the next 2 months? No, we're thinking legacy. We're thinking who you are, what your name, your role, right? So it is really important. This might be related as well. This retrograde might be related to the fact that you might need to redo some projects, revamp your strategies for success. Going, and like I was saying in the introduction, like stepping out and seeing a strategy from a big picture perspective instead of focusing just on one piece of the plan. That is what's going to help you tremendously. And obviously be very careful, be very strategic and thoughtful whenever you are communicating with authority figures like bosses and people who are above you, because they might be watching what you're doing. And that can be also a good thing, because if you are doing everything you can, you're doing your best, it's going to get noticed. So I hope that helps you, Pisces risings, Pisces suns. Now I'm going with Aries. So for you, Aries, wow. This is such an incredibly important time to be alive for you, right? Because like Pluto left Capricorn and on November 19th, and so you are like putting the bow, right? Putting the bow on this major transformative phase in your life. And what that means is that as you wrap up this 15-year cycle, which we're all coming out of, this Mercury retrograde might bring these major realizations about so many things, about your career, the last 15 years of your life, about your home, about who you are, your place in the world. So this is like a very philosophical time. That's how I want to call it, philosophical, because like Mercury is going to go retrograde in your 9th house of life philosophy, travel, learning. This is like a big house. This is a house that connects you to the world at large. So you're seeing the world with new eyes. There is a new filter. That's the way that I want to explain it to you. There's a new filter. It's looking brighter. It's looking easier. You have some really intense activations in 2025. We're going to talk about that later. But for now, you're able to see things through a less intense lens. That's what I'm saying. And this Mercury retrograde can really help you expand your mind, expand your horizons. And you might decide to do this either through travel, through study, because this is the house that rules learning and knowledge and life learnings. You could go back to travel to a place where you have been before, but that brings a lot of like past life memories, or just like this connection to a deeper part of yourself. So that would be something good for you to do. If you decide to travel to a destination that you've always wanted to go to, or where you felt like you lived before, that could be a catalyst for a pretty important transformation for you. Deep spiritual work is also part of the equation. So signing up for a class, for an astrology class, a tarot class, anything that's going to expand your knowledge, your mind, and how you relate to the world at large. Taurus. Taurus rising. I'm Taurus rising, so I'm right there with you. This retrograde is going to be pretty intense in a way because it's going to happen in your 8th house of transformation, taboo, intimacy, contracts, basically all the things that are serious in life. There are many different manifestations because, as you can see, this house rules a lot of things. But let's think about maybe if you are in a serious partnership, like married or cohabitating with somebody, or who you share finances with, who you share expenses and all of that with, there might be some adjustments with that, like going over your finances, going over your expenses. What are we doing? What are we spending on? How are we saving? All of those conversations that are not the easiest, but that need to happen. So this would be a good time for that. It would be a good time to get a bank account together. It would be a good time not to purchase any big items, not necessarily, especially a car, but to have those conversations and put everything in order. Like, I know it's ahead of time, but if you're in the US, I would start working on your taxes. You might also be working on a contract, you know, with or without a partner. This is the house of contracts. You could be working on a contract, signing a deal, and all of that. I am going to be working on a contract, so really funny. Certain things can be avoided. If you have to work on a contract, you must. That's it. You can't really delay things because Mars is going to go retrograde later on December 6th. Like, get it done before that. But be very careful in what you sign. Be very careful in the clauses, everything that you agree to. If you're working a career contract, if you're working with a purchasing agreement or anything like that, I would make sure that you have all the information, and also that you're giving yourself space to make adjustments later on. That is my advice to you. I'm not from the thought that you should be ignoring life during retrogrades. You just can't do that. And I do think that the universe just helps us flow. So find that flow. And you might be also talking about intimacy, sex, transformation, taboo. This will be an incredible time to get an astrology reading, actually, because that's the house of spiritual work as well, of all of the things that are kind of hidden. And when Mercury goes retrograde in the 8th house, it's an intense time. It's a little bit of an intense time. You're transforming how you relate to others in a very deep level. So how you relate to the closest people to you. That's what I mean. Not necessarily romantic partners. It could be people who are very, very close to you or who you have an agreement with. Okay, so Gemini. Gemini, well, you get affected by Mercury retrogrades the most because Mercury rules your sign. And if you're Gemini rising, Mercury rules your chart. And you know already that these periods are really incredibly transforming for you, and this will not be an exception. What Mercury is going to do is it's going to help you figure out your closest relationships. And that I'm talking about the people who you deal with one-on-one, like your romantic partner, your business partner, your astrologer, your hairdresser, your lash extension lady, anybody who you have a deal with. Like, I'll give you this and you give me that, or who you have like an unspoken deal with or a contract with, comes under this umbrella. And so you're gonna be figuring out if things are fair, if the give and take is even keeled. Why are even these people in your life? If you want to continue to have these people in your life. So this is not going to be a walk in the park. Our relationships are really important to us. We're social beings, and you in particular have a lot of people around you. You have a lot of people, you're a social butterfly, you have a lot of people around you in your orbit. And there might be a need for you to ask yourself if you even want some of these people around. That's what it is, especially with Mars going retrograde also very soon. A lot of information is going to be coming out to the surface. A lot of desires are going to change for everybody. And for you in particular, well, your relationships will be on the top of your mind. And it's not a bad thing, but it is definitely a time to make adjustments within boundaries. It's a time to talk. What are we? What are we? Are we still friends? Are we still lovers? Lovers could come back. Lovers from the past could come back during this time, but there's no rush. Remember, like I said in the introduction, with Mars going retrograde, there's really no rush to figure out if that's even a possibility. It's more like a waiting time for now. And you might even have some contraction because like you're such a social person that you will be told if you've been spreading your social wings too thin. Like if you've been having too many friends and can't even handle them. That is a Gemini problem. And I invite you to invest more of your time and effort in your relationships. Cancer. Patience is going to be required, my dear moon child, because for you, this Mercury retrograde is going to be very practical. It's not like what I like Aries about life philosophy, and it's not like Taurus rising, like taboo subjects. It's going to be more about the day-to-day, like your routine, waking up in the morning and then doing your workout and then going to work. And like, if you are somebody who has a very established day-to-day routine, be prepared for that to change or having to adjust. When Mercury goes retrograde in the 6th house in our charts, it is just things are shifting, things are moving. We are required to adapt, especially because Mercury is going to retrograde in Sagittarius. So you're going to have some schedule snafus. Watch out with overbooking yourself. Watch out with overworking yourself, doing too much. That's also a possibility. Trying to do more than you can handle. Avoid biting more than you can chew. That's a classic Sagittarius thing. And why am I saying that? I wouldn't super commit to finish a lot of work or career projects before the end of the year, because that might be a vibe and you're gonna have to review other projects. You're gonna have to give yourself some time to review projects from earlier in the year. And if you're committing yourself to finishing a lot of things, you're not gonna have the time, and then you end up working too much and burnout. That is what this Mercury retrograde could mean for you. So be very careful, give yourself space. And another way that this Mercury retrograde could manifest is within your wellness practices. The 6th house relates to wellness, how you eat, if you're working out, how you're taking care of your body, if you're in flow, if you're listening to your body. All of that is going to be very important. So that's also going to come under the microscope. If your body isn't happy, like physically, you know, your neck, if things aren't moving correctly or in place, this is a really good opportunity to make adjustments. I'm just giving you an example, like a juice cleanse. If you feel like you need a detox, this Mercury retrograde can be really good for that. If you think that you need to go on a diet, I don't know, it's the holidays. I don't celebrate the holidays, but that could be a possibility too. If you feel like you're gonna overeat during the holidays, so maybe putting yourself on a schedule and being good during the week, something like that. Don't take my words as like rules, but that is what I'm thinking for you, that it is a really good opportunity to get yourself in flow with your body and making sure that you are taking care of and are listening to your body. I hope that helps. So now we go with Leo. Leo, you're going to have Mars retrograde in your sign pretty soon. That is a different subject, but it is something to keep in mind, because with Pluto in Aquarius, Mars going retrograde, like, you already know that things are shifting, things are moving, things are massively, it depends on where your sun is, but if you're at the very beginning of Leo, you know already that things are shifting. But Mercury retrograde is going to help that process. It's going to instigate a really fun view of this transformative process that you're going to experience. Mercury is going to go retrograde in your 5th house of pleasure, fun, romance, and children, which is the house of creation. If you think about all these things relate to creation, because your kids are your creation, if you have any. And romance, that's where romance start. But at the end of the day, it is about how you find pleasure in life. What are the things that you like? The hobbies, the activities, the things that you want to do, not that you have to do. These are the activities, hobbies, and things that you desire to do. So if you're an artist, by hobby, that would go in the 5th house. If you do anything for fun, and also if you, for example, have children, well, something with them could be coming up to the surface. They might require your help. They might require more of your time. If you are single, a partner from the past, a love from the past could be showing up again. This is a classic Mercury retrograde, and because Mars is going to go retrograde in your sign, this is a vibrant possibility. But remember, with retrogrades, we just kind of have to wait it out and see how things go. Like I already said it, this is a time, Leo, to just focus on finding new things in your life, like new vistas, new flavors, new people, new opportunities in your life, because the old stuff no longer applies. You're just not feeling that joie de vivre anymore. So give yourself that space to explore what are the things that bring you joy and that bring you pleasure. And you don't need to find them right away. What you need to do is play more, right? This is not like a serious thing. It's more like a fun thing. Like, have this process be fun for you, and eventually the answers will come. I hope that helps, Leo risings. Now I'm coming to Virgo rising. And what this means is that Mercury is going to go retrograde in a very personal part of your chart, which is the 4th house of home, family, roots, and domestic affairs. So it's coming into your home. What needs fixing? On a very practical level, an appliance might break. You might need to fix something in your home, or you might just decide to redecorate a corner or change the couch or something like that, because either it breaks or because you just don't like it anymore. And you're very picky. Virgos are very picky. They like things have a lot of Virgo in my chart, by the way. They like things in a very specific way, done in a specific manner. You're going to have to flow more. Things are not going to be exactly the way you want them to be, because there are new energies coming into your home. There's this need to revamp something in your private life. At a deeper level, we're talking about going back to your roots. There's this vibe of like remembering. Retrogrades bring us the past. They're like timeline shifting celestial events. So you might be going back down memory lane, thinking about your childhood, maybe even hanging out with the family members, traveling to see them. That makes sense. It's the holidays. And there's just this nostalgia about something from the past. It could be something intense, but it could also be a very healing. You could find healing. Like, for example, this is extreme, but call it childhood healing, right? Like going back to a moment important in your life and find healing. This is especially true because Chiron is going to be very activated in Aries. Remember, I said that in the introduction. So this is a good time for you to try to find healing within people who are within your family, within your tribe. It can be a partner or in a very close circle. Well, that was it for Virgo risings. And now I'm going with Libra rising. With Libra rising, well, most Libra risings are social butterflies. Not all of them, but a lot of them are. And these, for you, like this Mercury retrograde, it just feels like a double, not double that it's going to be more intense. It just doubles down on the meaning of Mercury retrograde, which is communication, transportation, writing, speaking, the processing of information. So what that means, Libra, is that even though you're like used to like just like, you know, talking and being very social with people and like everything always most of the time going right, this time you might be misunderstood. The information you share might be taken out of context. If you send a text, someone might misunderstood what you're saying. It's communication. Basically, it's your communication sector that is being highlighted. And so what this seeks to do at a deep level is it seeks to get you to stop. Am I really saying the right thing? Why am I saying it? Is that what I really mean? Is that what I really want? Is it me? Is it me or is it others? Are they misunderstanding me, or am I not explaining myself correctly? Am I not explaining what I want or what I need or what I'm trying to convey? And that is why other people are not understanding me. See, so there's going to be a lot of like mental stimulation for you. And it's really important that you don't overthink things, and especially that you don't acting on this overthinking. It's really important that you stay grounded and that you ask more questions than trying to fix things now. Because at a deeper level, this communication activation is going to change the way you totally communicate with others. But it's going to be a process, which means that it's better to stop and really watch what's happening when you are trying to express yourself. How are you doing it? How are people responding? And all of that. All of that process is going to be, it's going to require you to stop and observe yourself and others more, instead of just going through life like you normally do. It's not like there's something bad, but what I'm trying to say is that the way that you express yourself is going to change. And the delays and misunderstandings are just catalyst for you to notice what is changing. Good luck, Libra rising. Scorpio, that's our last sign because we started with Sagittarius. For my Scorpios, I'm a Scorpio sun, but this is for Scorpio risings. But it might resonate for Scorpio suns too. Mercury is going to go retrograde in your second house of finances, money, and personal values. At a practical level, you might be spending some money on something. You might need to fix something. Maybe you're buying or just bought something big. There are just some adjustments within your finances. It can be your personal finances, but it can also be finances with a partner, or it could even be coming up with a new budget for your business. Monies. Be very careful with that. Not to scare you or anything, but if you feel like it's a good time for you to get onto that spreadsheet for your finances before the end of the year, this would be a really good time for that. It would be a really good time to come up with a new budget for the new year. It would be a great time to set some realistic goals for saving money, for example. So that is the practical side of that. On the other side, we're talking about your value system. You might notice that you no longer feel the same way about the value of things. And this is not just material, but it might be psychological as well. Like, what's more valuable to you? What do you need the most in your life to be happy? Everyone is changing right now, and everyone will continue to change in 2025. So what is most valuable to you in life now that Pluto, your modern ruler, is in a new sign for the next 20 years, and that your other ruler, Mars, is about to go retrograde? Well, it's a good time to think that through. What's most important for you? How have your values been evolving in the past year? The things that you care about, the things that you want to spend money, energy, and emotions on. Expect that to shift, Scorpio. And as you know, you're a fixed sign, so you don't like change, but you're a master at it. It's really interesting. The Scorpio psychology is fascinating to me. Even though it's a fixed sign, it is the sign of transformation. It is the sign of the serpent. So you're going to stay in that liminal space for a minute. This Mercury retrograde is going to have you ask all those questions. And it's important that you sit with them for now. Again, the responses are not going to come right away, but it's really good to just have them there in your whiteboard to be revisited. And I just wanted to end this video, thank you for listening and thank you for being here, by saying that even though Mercury goes direct on December 15, this is for all signs. When there's a full moon in Gemini, so I expect that to be a little dramatic and explosive, because Gemini is dramatic. It's one of its gifts. Mercury doesn't really begin moving forward at a regular speed until December 21st, which is the winter solstice. That's when things can start falling into place. But again, we have the retrograde of Mars. So we are in a big process of transformation. Everyone in the world is. So I'm really hoping that these horoscopes help you, that they inspire you to work with Mercury retrograde. That is something that I do constantly, and I have found great joy in doing it, because Mercury helps us change our minds, shift our perspective about a specific situation, or as a person, or a desire, or it's usually something important in our lives. And with so many planetary changes happening now and coming in the future, well, this Mercury retrograde can be really helpful to break patterns from the past, to break stories or storylines that no longer feel right, and start getting aligned with what we see coming into our lives in the future. I leave you here. Thank you for watching. If you want to dive deeper into this Mercury retrograde, the Mars retrograde, or even the astrology of 2025, how it is going to affect you, how can you best utilize the current planetary alignments for your personal growth and evolution, I am here for you to guide you. But if you enjoyed this video, I ask you to give me a little emoji, give me a thumbs up, or subscribe to my channel, just so I can continue to make space to create content for you, because I'm actually having a lot of fun doing it. Big love, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.